It's one of the most popular internet fun facts around, that sharks are older than trees. Is that true? No. First, we have to be crystal clear what we actually mean. Is this individual shark older than trees? No, of course not. It's some number of years old. Are great white sharks as a species older than trees? No, they're a couple million years old. What people mean when they give this supposed fun fact is that sharks as a group are older than trees. This is also wrong, but let's leave sharks and talk about the grocery store. Humans like to group things, but there's never only one way to group a set of objects. One classic example is whether a tomato is a fruit or a vegetable. I won't litigate that argument, but a botanist has a checklist of features that makes a fruit, and tomatoes tick those boxes. But people going to the grocery store also have a checklist of features that make a fruit, and tomatoes don't tick many of those boxes, so it gets thrown into a mass category called vegetables. That's fine for a grocery store, but any category that includes tomatoes, potatoes, mushrooms is uselessly broad for botanists. For a similar reason, saying this plant is a tree isn't really a thing in evolutionary biology, because loads of different types of plant came to the idea of becoming a tree independently. For instance, oak trees are considerably more closely related to dandelions than they are to pine trees. Now, to be clear, none of these ways of classifying are better or worse than the other. Grouping tomatoes with vegetables tells you about how it's best utilized in a recipe. Grouping it with fruit tells you about its structure. Just like pairing oak trees and dandelions tells you about their evolutionary history, pairing oak trees and pine trees tell you about how they look and their economic uses. But to evolutionary biologists, the category tree is more like vegetable, in that it's way too broad of a category to be useful for their purposes. Which means, for our purposes, we need to use the common definition. A tree is a thing that looks tree-y. That makes determining the oldest tree difficult. But at the moment, we're looking at 390 million years or so. In that range. Now let's play that same game with sharks. If you go to the aquarium and see a ray of some form, you probably don't think, look, shark. That's because when you hear the word shark, you almost certainly think of members of the superorder Selachimorpha. And scientists agree with you. These are the sharks. According to one recent paper, the split between sharks and rays happened about 270 million years ago. So sharks are 270 million years old as a group. That's a big number, but it's also a substantially smaller number than the 390 million years of trees. So sharks aren't older than trees. Why then do people say they are? Well, rays, sharks, and a few other similar animals form a larger group called the Elasmobranchi, and they split off from the group that includes chimeras and ratfishes around 415 million years ago. But we've already established that when people talk about sharks, they don't have rays in their mental model, so that doesn't really work. And anyway, that's not that much older than trees, and this fun fact requires them to be way older than trees. That's because this fun fact uses a third date. Around 460 million years ago, chondrichthyes, also called cartilaginous fish, aka your sharks, your rays, ratfishes, all sorts, split from Euteliostomi, the bony vertebrates. And we've finally gotten to the fact. Cartilaginous fish are older than trees. But cartilaginous fish does not equal shark in the public meaning of shark for sure, and in the scientific meaning, the term shark seems pretty usually the much younger Selachimorpha. There's another consequence. By similar logic, bony vertebrates should also be older than trees. And it gets worse. Guess who qualifies as a bony vertebrate? You. As long as you're not a shark, a lamprey, a sea squirt, an insect, basically if you're a mammal, bird, reptile, amphibian, many types of fish, that kind of thing, you're a bony vertebrate. But would you ever say humans are older than trees? No, that's silly, even though the only way the sharks are older than trees fact works is by going back to the split between human ancestors and shark ancestors rather than anything to do with sharks themselves. So saying humans are older than trees is as true as saying sharks are older than trees, which is to say, not very true at all.